see, this is the thing now where the fun part, and it says we are now streaming, so that is good. Everything seems to be working.
Nice.
Just check it on the devices to make sure we're all good there too. I love this technology. It's so cool, especially when you have to like play the interviewer and the producer all at the same time.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Oh, here I have to turn out my. Okay, here we go. All right. Welcome on this cold and dark Thursday night in Auckland to Alex Maloney and Molly Meech. How are you guys? You can talk.
Good, thank you, Sue Ellen. Yeah, it's nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
That's all right. No worries at all. We're just going to kick it off and show a quick video, one of many that you've sent through for us to play tonight. In a second, while I open it up. And let's go with this one here. And we won't play any audio over this one. This is one of you guys flying downwind, and I just want you to explain to us like the feelings that you guys have when you have a really epic downwind send. So stand by. Here we go.
I think this was actually Molly's partner, Nick, filming this from the coach boat before. Yeah. It was a pretty epic build up to the Worlds. We had glamour conditions. And what would we be thinking right now, Molly?
I think this one, like going downwind in these boats is pretty incredible. And when it's like this, it's kind of the glamour conditions where slight bit of waves, but not too much that it's scary. It looks like perfect conditions. So this would have been a pretty good run back home.
Yeah.
And you guys are just going, like, is that, you've just gone past Takapuna? Is that sort of Wakateri area that you just gone past there, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd been doing training races on the Takapuna course, and it was pretty special having everyone down here before Worlds and just doing what we normally do overseas. I don't think like at the time we realized how cool it was, but now that we're training we have been training with just the 49er boys and a few FXs, you kind of realize that was really special.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And I think that's the first time that I've sort of been involved in an epic event right on my doorstep and home club. It was so cool to have the Oceanas and then the World Championships at Royal Akarana Yacht Club back in December, which feels like such a long time ago now. Doesn't it, Molly?
It really does, yeah. No, but I agree, like it was pretty amazing event. I think definitely the first for me about having the whole World's fleet come down to New Zealand and to have them training and racing against us was incredible. But yeah, it felt like a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, like so long ago. So, I mean, like out of the, before the Oceanas, how long were you guys doing that real intensive training coming into the Oceanas and making sure that you were ready then for the Worlds, Molly, Alex?
I think we have to explain the general awkwardness. Molly and I always on these Zoom calls start speaking at the same time. So now we're really cautious that we're not going to interrupt each other. So
and I'm really cautious of making sure I ask the right person the right question.
Yeah. We had to manage that because a lot of teams just couldn't wait to get down to New Zealand. So they came months in advance. And so there was always someone to train with, and everyone was kind of coming and going at different times and always sending you messages like, when are you guys training? And so you could kind of be on the whole time. So we kind of had to make sure we took some time off in the build up. But then when you took time off, you almost felt like you were kind of missing out on some really cool training in your home waters. So it was a tricky one and a new experience for us. And I think we managed it pretty well. That looking back on hindsight, we could have done a few things differently, but overall, look back on it with fond memories, even though we probably felt a little bit disappointed with how we performed at the Worlds.
Yeah. That's okay. We'll get to that part. But I mean, you guys are friends with all of the other athletes that you train with. How do you sort of go from being friends on shore to then being rivals on the water? Is there how do you differentiate the two, Molly?
Yeah, I think that's been questioned a lot actually. Like we are really good friends with majority of the FX fleet off the water, which is really cool. Like it means the vibe in the boat park and kind of on our trips is really neat. But yeah, there's definitely a switch that happens, and we kind of have it in training as well, that when you're going on the water, you're training, you know, like everyone's pushing each other really hard, and that kind of just continues on into the racing environment as well. I think it's kind of like as soon as you get on the boat, that's kind of it.
Have you ever had a bit of a tussle that's like maybe caused a little bit of tension on the water with some good friends, and then how do you deal with that when you get back on shore, Alex?
Yeah, there hasn't been too many. Like I think one of Molly and I's strengths is that we really value fair sailing. So we almost on the too cautious side, pushing the rules and things, but that means we don't get in too many niggly situations. So we could probably push those rules and boundaries a little bit more. But I think I remember one time in Garda with the Brazilians, there was a port starboard like cross going downwind, and it just sometimes in a skiff you're apparent like you change angles so quickly, and we thought we were crossing and we were on port and we weren't crossing, and we kind of caused the Brazilians to capsize, and I think Ka like bruised herself on the side of the boat. We felt really bad, so we had to withdraw from the race, and I think that was one of the only times where I felt quite awkward with the Brazilians, because we knew we were in the wrong. And
yeah, you're quite good friends with those girls as well.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we've been training partners since probably 2014, and we've competed against Martine and Ka since we were quite young. Yeah, but I don't think there's been too many bad situations with our immediate training partners, or even any of the other FX teams that jump to mind.
Well, that's really good. I mean, it's good that you can, well, we used to be able to travel the world and go to all these great places and race in really hard, tough, mentally challenging conditions, and then still be friends with everybody at the end of the day. So I think that's really great. And just sort of speaking about, that whole mental side of it all, for everyone who's watching from overseas, New Zealand is in week 3 or coming into now week 4 of lockdown. And it's been a real challenging time for all of us, sort of stuck at home. I mean, it's not bad being stuck at home, but being stuck at home and away from all of the things that we love doing. I mean, how are you guys coping with that mental side of this whole issue that we've got? Well, I'll start with you, Molly.
Yeah, I think it's been a challenging time, like you said, for everyone. And I think I remember, I know it was probably 4 weeks ago now, we were on the water on the Monday and we'd gone out for a training session with the boys, and it was really cool. And we were like, thinking of what the next month was going to entail. And we came off the water and everyone was like, oh, we're going into lockdown in 48 hours. And we were like, oh, okay, that's a bit of a change. So I think the first week or so, like I was okay. Obviously, there were some big changes for us with the Olympics being postponed. So that was a little bit of a speed bump. But yeah, like in general, kind of I was normal training off the water, got a pretty good setup here where I can do physical training within our bubble. But then definitely week 3, this week's been pretty hard for me. Yeah, we've had daylight savings here in New Zealand, so it feels like winter's kind of coming upon us. But yeah, I think just without having any kind of certain plans in place and quite a lot of unknowns, yeah, I think it's definitely tough, that's for sure.
Yeah. How have you been coping, Alex?
Yeah, it definitely took a little bit of an adjustment. And like Molly said, it's really hard to make plans going forward. And for us, that's really unusual because our whole year, actually 4 years, is pretty mapped out. And we're quite used to having, like, knowing where we're going to be in a few weeks' time and, yeah, having exact plans. So I think that's probably the most challenging bit. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Everyone's plans change pretty drastically from weddings to work and everything. So we're not alone in that, which is comforting in a way, like you're not experiencing that by yourself just as athletes. But yeah, like Molly said, I think week 3 is probably the most challenging because you're missing those connections you have in the community and like just the regular things like going to high performance sport and seeing the other athletes or your physio, or now we're doing telehealth instead of going in to see the physio. So it's just all quite different. But I think overall handling it pretty good and kind of trying to make the most of the time. So like Molly, trying to use the time to maintain and even make fitness gains. And then I've also decided to enroll in a paper 5 weeks into the semester, so that's been keeping me busy, trying to catch up on study. And then, yeah, just trying to, I think my bubble, we're really fortunate, and we kind of come together for each dinner and we try to share a highlight of the day. So that's quite interesting, because those last few meals, I think we kind of struggled to come up with one. We have to really dig deep, and sometimes it is just dinner as the highlight. So
yeah, I noticed that as well. It's really great when you have friends check in on you and they're like, hey, how you going? And I'm like, yep, same as last week.
Yeah.
same as the week before. But anyway, look, we'll all good. I mean, at the end of the day, we all know that we're doing this for the right reasons, and we're all in the same boat. You know that old saying, we are all in the same boat here, and it's just a small little time out of our year that for a greater cause, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, understanding that for you guys, there's a lot of unknown with what's happening with events moving forward, but obviously the end goal is the Olympic Games. How were you guys when you heard that it did get postponed? I don't know who to ask. Let's go, Molly.
I mean, I think there's a part of me that kind of had seen it coming, you know, with a lot of other countries getting affected and a lot of things getting cancelled, that it was a bit of a shock, but yeah, it was kind of, I guess, expected in a way as well. But yeah, I guess it just opens it up and makes it fair for everyone, and hopefully by that time next year we're all in a very good situation and can compete properly.
Does it change the way that you guys plan, like, you know, to get to that elite level for that particular event? Alex?
Yeah, well, I guess, I was going to say, it's a situation that probably hardly many people have been in it before. I think it's always been a 4-year cycle, and getting it pushed out another year definitely changes plans. But yeah, I think in sailing we're pretty good at adapting, and you kind of always thrown, you know, curveballs and different conditions and that kind of thing. So I think we're pretty good at being able to adapt.
Sounds good. So let's just rewind and go right back to the start, because obviously you guys, you know, you started out somewhere. So Alex, how did you actually get into sailing in the first place?
Oof. Rewind many years.
Many years.
I think, so I was born in the States, and we had a little Moor 24, the Great Pumpkin, which a Moor 24 is similar to probably a little Piety or something like that. And mum and dad would race it locally, and I think when I was only a few months old, they took me out for the Delta Ditch and many local races in the Bay Area. So kind of started out being on boats at a very young age. And dad actually took me out on a 49er in Santa Cruz when I was young, because he was one of the first ones to sail a 49er. A group of his mates, they weren't professional at all, but they just loved sailing. And it was interesting because they kind of helped develop the 49er, like Molly and I helped develop the FX. So that's quite a cool little tie-in. So it was kind of a family affair. And then when I was probably around 6 years old, I think I had my 6th birthday in New Zealand, they decided the lifestyle in the States, and they just needed a change. So they actually bought a Carry cruising boat in Kerikeri, and they moved us across the world and onto the boat for 3 years. And we cruised the South Pacific and had a little wooden opti on board called Sweet As. And so me and my brothers would take it out, and we got quite creative, putting like the windsock for the cruising boat, and we made a little kite for the opti and did things like that. So it kind of was just, we grew to love the sport quite naturally, I think. And having been on a boat cruising when you're a kid is pretty special, I think. And we're really fortunate to have that experience. So we moved back to New Zealand and got residency, and I didn't actually want anything to do with sailing for a few years, just wanted to play netball and swimming and all sorts of other sports. But the 2 older brothers were quite involved, so I kind of got dragged around to events, and then decided it was probably funner being out there than on the beach with mum and dad. So got amongst them, just from there, just the junior classes and youth classes, and progressed to the Olympic level and started sailing with Molly probably 8 years ago now, a while ago. Yeah.
But before all of that though as well, Alex, you know, You're allowed to talk about it. You did quite well in the opties.
Yeah, nice. Opties was hard because I feel like I was so young, and I was, but at the time it means so much. I was really dedicated and spent a lot of time in the opti and loved it. I met so many good friends through the opti and had a lot of fun. In my last year of optis, after just missing out on count back in my second to last year, I made the opti worlds team, which to me at the time was amazing. And went to Sardinia, Italy, and did really well. I got third and first female, which I think actually gave me quite a few opportunities that I got to sail with some really good people in double-handed boats kind of from that experience. I was really lucky. Like 6 months later, I got to do the 29er Worlds with Blair Tuke in Australia. So I think that was, I was really young, and I think there was many probably luck factors that went into that, but it actually kind of started a really cool pathway for me, which I'm really grateful for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Molly, how about you?
So Alex and I actually had quite similar childhoods. I lived on a boat with my family for about 7 years, and we actually circumnavigated, which I think looking back, my parents were a little bit crazy. Sorry, mum and dad, but like Alex said, it was an amazing way to grow up, and I guess a really cool introduction to both sailing, but also like a love for the ocean and the environment and everything like that, which is pretty cool. We got back to New Zealand. I think I'm probably going to get this wrong, around 2001, and I didn't really get into sailing until probably 12 or 13. And that was definitely because of Sam. So my brother started sailing before me, and we learned to sail on Hamilton Lake. So not much water there, but we managed to find some. And so Sam was really into it and got quite into kind of the racing scene in the junior classes here in New Zealand, so the Opti P class. And I was dragged around kind of the country to the regattas, and eventually decided that being on shore wasn't that much fun and I should get out there as well. So I actually sailed the New Zealand classes for quite a long time. So I sailed the P class, which at the time was a really cool class here in New Zealand. And we had probably about 80 or 90 boats at my first nationals, which was pretty exciting. And from there, I went to kind of the Starling and then progressed into the laser radial for a few years, which was kind of when I first got my taste for travel internationally. So I managed to qualify myself to go to the Youth Worlds a couple of times, which Alex and I actually did. I think it was actually one of my first trips international with Alex. We went to the Youth Worlds in Turkey, which was amazing. You get to go over and you sail against all these other people that have, the same dream and passion as you do, which is pretty cool. So I did kind of 2 Youth Worlds in the laser radial, and then Alex approached me and was like, hey, you want to sail the 29er? So I got a little bit converted into a trapeze after that.
And I guess the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. Could also probably be a gold medalist in the radial class if she put her mind to that. So I'm pretty lucky to have asked her at the right time, I think.
I mean, well, you guys have definitely gone on and achieved some really great things, like World Championships and obviously your silver medal at Rio. Gosh, that seems so long ago, 2016. Oh my gosh. But what else do you guys do with your sailing? I mean, sailing obviously has now become, it's like a job for you guys in effect. You guys are full-time athletes, but you're all, Alex, you're also studying. And Molly, are you studying as well?
I finished my degree last campaign.
That's right. I didn't know that. But what do you guys like? Do you guys still go sailing just for fun as well?
Yeah, I think I can speak for both of us. Like, we both love going out on the cruising boats with our families and friends. So if we're not actually training, you can quite often find us cruising. Just love being on the water and on boats. I think that's pretty fair to say, Molly.
No.
So what other sailing do you do? Is it just cruising, or do you get onto keel boats and do any racing? Or
I haven't done too much keelboat racing. I think. Sorry.
All right.
But I haven't done too much keelboat racing. But yeah, probably in the future, I think I'd be keen to try it out a little bit more. But I think for me, at least, the FX has really been a focus, and kind of the games has always been the goal at the moment. But yeah, I think over the next few years, keen to kind of diverse the skills and get into a few different classes. A few of the foiling ones are pretty exciting nowadays, so might need to try those out soon.
So now, Alex, you've got a wasp. You took the plunge, you got a wasp. Molly, do you reckon you're going to get a wasp as well, or?
Probably not a wasp. I have had a couple of goes with my brother's moth, which I think I was pretty addicted to within 30 seconds. So, but yeah, I think I'll just try keep using his for a little bit.
That's right. Let him pay the bills for it. I'm all for that. That's so cool. So, I mean, do you guys ever wonder, like, what life would be like if you didn't end up sailing together, or like where you would be right now?
I haven't personally wondered that too much. Like, I think we'd both still be involved with sailing, and our paths might have been different, but I personally haven't wondered that too much. I am really grateful of like the time sailing we've had together, because I think we've achieved some pretty cool things, and this next year hopefully can achieve some more. But no, I don't know. I think we'd be okay. How about you, Molly?
I actually don't really like to think of a life without sailing, because it kind of scares me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hey, now we've just had Jody, aka Randy Cunningham, Jody Shields, has asked how you guys have actually started, like how you're actually managing to keep Match fit during lockdown. Now, I know, Alex, you've got on your Facebook page, you've actually posted a few little workout videos. How do you feel about me grabbing those and showing one or two?
Go for it. I think if you put things on social media, you have to expect for it to get.
You actually put them on your Facebook page, didn't you? Or are they on your Instagram?
I think Instagram.
I think your Instagram. All right, I'm definitely going to find those while we're just chatting here, and we'll see if we can show one.
Yeah,
they've been quite cool. I mean, it sort of motivated me as well. I can't find them now. Where's the one of you doing the push-ups and the clap?
Oh, that'll be on an Insta story.
Do you still have that video? You could quickly just send it to me while we're chatting here, and I could get that sorted. Come on now. While you guys do that as well, we've got a little quick video as well to play, and it's one of the starts that you guys did, and I just would love you guys to talk through how, like, what actually goes on board your boat, with 1 minute to go. Okay, so let's get that one playing while you look for the other video. Oops, hang on.
Think about that when you're not actually doing it.
Let's just have a look here. Here we go. Screen share. No audio. Alrighty. Here we go.
So to give some background, this is during the Oceanias before the Geelong Worlds in Australia.
Okay.
In January. So it was quite a windy and very shifty event, the Oceanias.
Very windy.
Yeah, you can definitely see that there's breeze on. So whereabouts are you placed on the line here? Are you happy with where you are?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much mid-line here. I think our aim out of the start, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, was to hold the lane out towards the left-hand side of the course. So we'll probably just be talking about like distance back from the line, and I'll be talking about time to go. And what else are we doing, Alex?
Is there a lot of communication at this point, or is it really just like counting down the time?
There should be pretty constant comms at this stage, but I actually looked back at some of this video earlier today to send it through to you, Sue Ellen, and I did notice probably Molly had more dominant comms during the Oceanias and really stepped up her game on the start line. And I think we kind of go through phases, and if one of us doesn't have the perfect comms, the other one steps in. And definitely this day, Molly was really, really getting us off the start line. Her comms seemed really decisive, and
that was a glamour start, yeah.
It did actually look like a really good start, and I know, like, the video hasn't got that much longer to go, but you can see the other boat sort of coming down into you guys a bit there.
Yeah, surprisingly here, I think we may have got rolled by the Argentinians.
The video doesn't go that far, so that never happened.
They were on form that day.
that never happened. So let me just quickly download this little video here.
Really short.
You can probably hear it. So this is how Alex is keeping match fit during
press ups all the time, so only press ups.
And we might actually have to play this a couple of times because I'm rather impressed with this. I'll admit I tried it and fell over, but let's have a look at this one. Hang on a sec.
Oh dear.
Are you ready? Look at you go.
Oh. Yeah, so I think you don't actually have to bring your feet off the ground doing clap push-ups, but for some reason my feet just come up, and Kim, our trainer, kind of teases me about it, but I struggle to do it without the feet kind of going for a little air time as well.
That's very impressive. That's pretty good. Molly, yeah. I know that you can do that too.
No, that one's quite hard. Not sure about that.
She can definitely.
Just like as I said, I think I tried once and I fell over, and I went, yeah, that's not for me. Definitely not.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with Molly and Sam's setup. So I think a week before the lockdown, Sam kind of instigated it, I think. They kind of just predicted it and had such good preparation, which is kind of probably shows his whole campaign style, and Molly's really good prep. And he got like a rack and everything. So seeing them being able to still do pull-ups and like bar exercises was pretty cool. Your setup looks pretty awesome, Molly.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky that Sam got onto that. Feeling.
Do you have any little workout videos that you can send through as well, Molly?
No, I like to keep mine a bit private.
Yeah, me too, because I'm so bad at it. I just had a question come through. Are you guys doing any virtual sailing at the moment?
Ooh, I haven't actually given it a go yet. I've definitely been hearing a lot about it. I think Sam's given it a go, but yeah, I haven't quite got onto the virtual esports as of yet.
Yeah, neither have I yet. I think technology, as you can see, my background's pretty basic. Technology is not my strong point. So I think I'll try to focus on passing this uni course and doing some fitness and some other things at the moment. But maybe at a later stage in lockdown.
So with the 49er FX, obviously it is a class that you are sailing to reach a certain goal, but do you actually love sailing this boat?
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't know, like we came into the Olympic circuit, at such a good time. Like the boat's so cool to sail, so exciting and fast, and I think definitely, especially after a break like we're having now, getting back in the boat is going to feel really good. I think it's one of those things that, I don't think you can really describe it until you actually have a go. Yeah,
for sure. I've never sailed on one, but would always be very excited to go out one day. So just sort of back to the Worlds. I mean, we had the Worlds in Auckland, the Oceanas and the Worlds in Auckland at the club that you base yourselves out of when you are training at Royal Akarana Yacht Club. With that amount of boats and sailors at the club, I heard that it was one of the biggest that they've ever had. Is that true, Alex?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if it's a fact, but I think it was like before a lot of selections took place, and everyone was so excited to come to New Zealand. Like probably for a year or two out, they were just asked so many questions and we're just fizzing over the opportunity to come sail in New Zealand. I think we're pretty famous worldwide for having some really cool conditions and just an excellent place to be as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a fact. It seemed like a pretty big Worlds, I believe. It
seemed pretty large. I mean, considering that there's the 49ers and the NECRA 17s there as well, it was huge. And it was so great to see so many boats and all these sailors from around the world just enjoying being in New Zealand. I mean, that was pretty exciting. So with regards to your results, you talked about it a little bit earlier that you were slightly disappointed. What was it about the regatta as such? If you could look back and do anything differently, what would it be? I don't know who to ask this one to. You can just decide amongst yourselves who's going to answer that one.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was a tough event for us. I think sometimes you go out there and everything kind of clicks, and things feel quite easy. But it kind of felt like one of those events that it was just hard to do things right, and it felt quite different than how we normally sail here in New Zealand. The whole month leading up to the event was all southwesterlies and quite windy and offshore. And then coming into the event, we had a bit of a switch where it went onshore and the conditions changed quite significantly. But yeah, I think it was just quite hard for us to kind of pick what was going on the days, and yeah, it was a tricky event for us.
Yeah. Going back to what Molly said, like usually we can kind of come up with a game plan and back it, but quite often we were surprised when one side of the course paid and we didn't really understand if it was a title thing or one thing, and it didn't really kind of all line up to what we kind of predicted. So we found it quite hard to make a plan, and probably influenced our starting, but we kept trying. And I think, yeah, we definitely went out every day trying our hardest, which I think was pretty cool. The final day, we managed to get some top 3 results in the last few races of fleet racing, and I think it didn't quite click, but we still got a credible result. And I think, yeah, a few factors. I think if we kind of look back, if we just probably got off the start line and just held lanes and kept it simple, but there's many things. Hindsight's amazing, but
hindsight is 20/20 vision, isn't that right?
Yeah.
So we've just had a question come through. Can you guys see yourselves doing something like the ocean race in the future? It's a question for both of you.
Yeah.
No, you go, Alex.
Personally, I'd love to try to get experiences offshore racing and give it a go. I think I love the idea of it being an adventure and still competition and fierce racing, and I'd love to kind of see if it is for me, because right now I think it really is. But before I can say 100% sure, I'd like to gain more experience in blue water sailing and offshore racing. But I think for the next year and a half, we're fully focused on the FX and seeing where other opportunities can come in alongside that or actor will be pretty exciting. Yeah.
What about you, Molly?
Yeah, it's a pretty good summary. Yeah, I think without having the experience on offshore boats and racing and that side of things, then it'd be nice to gain a little bit of that before you've made a decision to do the race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many opportunities that are now available for everybody around the world with sailing. I mean, the opportunities are pretty much endless, really. It just depends on what you want to do. So that's great to finally see as well. So just sort of then going back to the Geelong, the Oceanas, and then subsequently the Worlds, which unfortunately you guys weren't able to compete in because of an injury that you got, Alex. Are you now all fully recovered and good to go after the injury that you had that forced you out of the Worlds?
Yeah, so I think it was 3 days before Worlds in a training race, just a really awkward incident, and I fractured my foot. And I think it was pretty devastating, actually. I felt like we were really clicking and sailing well. Like we'd obviously come second at the Oceanias before the Worlds. So it was pretty disappointing for both of us. And I remember feeling so bad because Molly and Nath went through de-rigging the boat, doing some repairs, measuring, registering us. Meanwhile, I spent probably all the day in the ER room with our physio, Fiona, and kind of was waiting to hear back from the doctor, and kind of just felt really bad. I was like letting the team down, and I think they were so supportive, but we're all really disappointed not to be able to race the Worlds. But I think the news from that disappointing kind of time, it just got better, because over in Australia it was pretty worst case scenario. Like I was still thinking I was going to race, and the physio, because it depends on kind of where the fracture is in your foot, and probably embarrassingly was sobbing on the little table while the doctor had probably a really long day and was already wrapping my leg in plastic cast, and I was still being like, I can compete. Like I really didn't think it was broken. I was really surprised to hear there was actually a break. But then when I got back to New Zealand, the news just got better. So fortunately, they said over there I was going to be months out of the boat, off sailing, off sport, because they kind of thought it was in a pretty bad spot, but it turns out it was kind of on the side of that joint. So the recovery has gone really smoothly, and really lucky to have high performance sport, like really cool medical staff and physio to kind of guide that process. And kind of from the beginning it was touch and go, like whether Palmer would be an option, and then it was more and more likely, and then we were ready to go to Palmer, and we were kind of back on the water and pretty excited to go. So it's all been a bit of a surprising few months, but in terms of the foot recovery, it's gone really smoothly, and pretty stoked to be able to start running again, and yeah, feeling a lot better about it now than obviously in Australia. It was pretty disappointing, but yeah, so it's gone smoothly, to answer your question.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's great to see you back out there, and you know, we saw you guys training back in Auckland as well when you got down there. It was great to see. Getting that first time that you were able to actually go back out in the boat after it happened, you'd now recovered. What was that like?
It wasn't that exciting because we had to be so cautious. No, it was really cool, but I was kind of worried the whole time, personally.
Yeah.
And Molly and Nate were so supportive there, like at any stage if it hurts too much, because the whole thing is if like my knee went too far past my foot, sometimes I'd get like a kind of a sudden like a, not a pain, but like you just felt it. So I think once you've had an injury, you kind of are thinking about it a bit more than normal as well. So I don't think it was like the funnest sail ever. Like it wasn't the most epic, but it was still really nice to be out there. It got better and better.
Hey, so we've just had a question come through from someone you guys know, a guy named by the name of Brad Collins. He says, ask them, do they have any good luck charms that they take with them, or do they do something quirky that they have always done on race days? I feel like there might be some inside jokes going on here. Okay, Molly?
I don't know. I was just I don't have anything personally, I don't think. Do I, Alex?
No, like I don't think we have that many superstitions. Molly's really good at routines. Like she can kind of go through routines really consistently, but I don't think there's any. I don't know. I haven't had a superstition for a long time. Like when I was back in Opties, I had like a lucky tennis ball that I would bring to every event. And
a tennis ball?
Yeah, a tennis ball.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really even lame story, but I just brought a tennis ball. That was special to me, but no longer. Nah. I think just like in the morning for me, it's like kind of if you're feeling a bit like mellow, sometimes listening to more amp up music, or if you're feeling a bit too excited, kind of calming by listening to like more chill music, and that nothing too special. Sorry to disappoint everyone.
So you don't take like a rabbit's foot out or anything weird like that?
No.
Mark Orams has asked, how much setup and moding knowledge can you learn from the 49er guys and apply to the FX?
I think at least for our Rio campaign, we learned so much of Pete and Blair and Josh and Marcus, who we sailed quite a lot with throughout that campaign. They really kind of put us up to speed, just not necessarily with like the rig setup, but just like how to actually sail the boat and kind of maneuvers and things like that, which was really valuable. But yeah, I think there is some kind of knowledge that can be shared, but then the FX itself, the rig's quite different than the 49er, so you can't really replicate what they do onto our kind of setups. But yeah, the boys here in New Zealand especially have been very helpful for us.
And they are your training guys, like they are your training buddies, Pete and Blair. You do get to go out and train against them a fair bit when they're not busy doing everything else.
Yeah, so we've got a pretty cool training environment in New Zealand, and if they're doing boat handling or racing, we're like more than welcome to join in, and it's really good starting practice. But I think where it kind of does get tricky is the speed difference. So obviously it's quite hard after the start to kind of stay straight lining with them, and then a large part of Olympic campaigning is speed testing and sail testing and rig testing. So when they're kind of focused on those blocks, or we are, it's we're pretty separated. So there's times when you just need to test your main sails for the year and kind of allocate them, and there'll be a few weeks where we won't do anything together, but maybe in the lead up to events, there might be more opportunities to do a few training sessions together.
Cool.
Yeah.
Molly, that photo that you got in the background, someone's actually asked if you're currently based in Enoshima.
It would be nice. Well, actually, probably a bit cold still up there in Japan, but no, it's a cool shot from last year though. So hopefully back there soon.
We've actually got a little video as well of you guys doing some light air training when you guys were over there. So we might just play that one. And again, just we'll turn the audio off and just sort of like, can you run through again, you know, like what's going on, how you're coping in the light airs, and, you know, what kind of things you are working on during this particular training session. And we'll get it started right there.
Right, it's going downwind now.
Turn that down. Oh, no, we're in the boat. There you go.
So that's the wind gear. So all the Yachting New Zealand coaches kind of use that, and it's pretty helpful looking back on video because you can kind of see exactly what wind speed and everything it really was. But this day I kind of remember quite vividly because there was quite a good swell left over, and that's actually probably one of the trickiest bits about the Olympic venue is you can get some pretty big waves or just small kind of swell. So that's quite a cool challenge to get used to being in Enoshima. But I think this day, for some reason, none of our training partners wanted to join us, so we're doing a solo session.
So what were the conditions, what are the conditions meant to be like come Olympic time? Is that something that you guys know? Is it a heavy air place? Is it a light air place?
I think it's looking like it's going to be one of those venues that you can really have a bit of everything, which is pretty cool. I mean, you're going to get the best all-round sailor out of it. But yeah, you can have kind of the onshore, which can come in quite strong. But you can also have like the onshore, which is kind of after a typhoon as well, which brings the huge waves, which is probably the most challenging, especially for the skiffs. But then you can also have the offshore conditions, which is shifty, and what most people say is quite like sailing off the bays here in New Zealand, which is good for us. But yeah, this is one of the days where it was slight swell left over, but pretty soft. So that makes it tricky again, trying to keep the boat going through that.
And I mean, out of all the conditions that you guys encounter, where do you reckon that you excel the most? Heavy, medium, light? Everywhere?
I think we can do pretty well in a range of conditions. I think if you ask our coach Nate, he thinks when it's windy, he always backs us pretty hard. I guess that's also due to the fact, like kind of more the light winds, everyone's got more similar speed, and the speed differences do get greater in the effects as the wind gets up, and also boat handling comes largely into it. So yeah, I think we're pretty good across the range. I think we probably enjoy, especially Molly, the 12 knots, perfect sunshine conditions. Do you reckon that's your element, Molly, when it's just beautiful?
Yeah, flat water, 12, 15. It's pretty nice.
So we just want to dial that up every day?
Yeah, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you know that you're not going to get any of that.
Yeah,
it's just like what you explained. It was like what you said with the Auckland Worlds. You know, you had the sou'westers, and then come the regatta, you had everything else.
Yeah.
It's so typical. It's like, you know, we all should have a shirt. It's never like this here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty true.
So how much on-water training do you guys usually do a week? Like, you know, pretending that you're not in lockdown now, how many days a week would you be out in the water?
Here in New Zealand, it probably ranges anywhere between like 4 to 5 days on the water, depending on what we're working on. If it's just like a normal training week and hopefully having the boys fleet out with us, probably 4 days. But yeah, so a decent amount.
Yeah. I think we kind of find when we're overseas and we're surrounded by our training partners and stuff, we do probably more hours. And then in New Zealand, it's more just maintenance and kind of ticking away on the job list. But we probably do more hours when we're with our training partners.
Yeah.
So we've got another little video here as well of you guys on board. And I think someone's actually wearing a GoPro on their head.
Yeah, I think I had a little head cam.
Yeah, a little head cam on. All right, let's watch that one because I think this one's quite cool as well. And again, like just you can talk us through sort of what's going on board. That would be awesome. Oh, okay, I know where you are. You've just left Akarana, and that's the Oreki boy.
It looks windy again.
Yeah. Auckland Harbour is often windy, eh?
I know, it looks pretty good. So how long ago was this video?
I reckon it's like I remember that day. Maybe it's the same day.
Yeah,
I
so
remember being in the channel and it was wind against tide and it was actually pretty hard to get downwind.
That does look windy, actually. Yeah, that's windy. That was a windy one.
yeah, so here in Auckland Harbour, when you got wind against tide, the channel just becomes so horrible, and it's actually pretty hard to get down in the skiff without going bowed down into the waves. So
Yeah.
we're really trying to avoid that.
We've often seen a few of the 18-foot skiffs as well, just, plowing in there.
Yeah, just off North End, it's pretty choppy.
There's just been another question come through from Gareth Moore. I'm interested to know if you guys use any meditation or mindfulness in your training, as it seems to be a newish thing and gaining popularity. Do you guys do much meditating?
Yeah, I've been working on it over definitely over this cycle. I wasn't so much into it last campaign, but yeah, I'm not very good at it. But I do find that you kind of feel quite good if you just stop and just try at least. But yeah, no.
I don't know how well I'd go with that. I should try to give it a go.
Yeah, I did. Kind of last cycle, I actually probably did more of the meditation, and then like before Rio, I was doing it pretty consistently, or trying to. I think it's actually quite a hard thing to actually do properly. But I think, as Molly says, just sitting there and kind of slowing down is kind of the purpose of it. But kind of I should get back into that routine. Actually, I think it is pretty useful. But for me, I think yoga or even just going for a jog is kind of a similar process where you're just kind of slowing down and simplifying things.
Going for a jog is you slowing down?
No, like I guess it's like you're free of distractions and you're just, I don't know.
Yeah, focused on yourself, focused on what you're doing, got your music on, just running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even a walk, to be honest. Sometimes during events, just going for a walk at nighttime or in the morning is pretty good. Yeah. So
if a young sailor wanted to reach the peak, where you guys are, what's the best advice that you've ever been given that you could pass down to the next generation? Start with you, Molly.
I'm not sure if it's something that I've been given, but it's probably something that I personally think, especially at a young age, is just to keep enjoying it and also having fun and trying lots of different things, because I came up through single-handed sailing, and here I am sailing a double-handed boat. So, it's not what you're doing at that age or at youth level isn't really determining, where you're going to end up. Because to be honest, I never really saw myself going to the Olympics until it came to the FX. So yeah, I don't know, just keep having fun, trying lots of different things, and then I'm sure the path will kind of open up from there.
It's pretty good advice.
Hopefully.
What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I think similar to what Molly said about enjoying your sailing and trying lots of different things and taking a lot of opportunities. Like, I think that's one thing that I could still keep doing, is just taking opportunities, because you never know kind of like what you might learn doing different types of sailing and things like that. One bit of advice that actually my dad said to me in Opties, because I think I was quite a serious kid, really focused and things like that, he kind of would always remind me about the fun factor, and he would say quite often, remember, the bigger your smile, the faster you go. And it's so cheesy, but it actually kind of works, because I think if you're enjoying it and having fun, you kind of loosen up and you're naturally going to sail better. And yeah, so I think sometimes I kind of try to remind myself of that still, because you can kind of get quite focused on the results and forget about the process of that.
I'd actually have to say that, and you've been posting a series of Instagram posts as well. And the one thing that I've noticed through the whole thing is that you are always smiling. You're always got a grin from ear to ear. And
that's just the photos I've chosen, Simone. I don't know, yes, Molly, she'll be like. there's definitely, I don't know, like there's definitely been times where it's definitely been hard work as well, and you kind of struggling as well. Like it's not all fun and games. But I think for us as a team, especially when we are really enjoying the sailing and enjoying the traveling and the adventure and everything like that, we definitely perform better as well. So it's hard sometimes to get into that space, but when we are enjoying it, the results naturally follow.
Nice. Out of all of the places that you guys have sailed in the world, Molly, what's been your favorite sailing location?
I actually really liked Porto in Portugal. We had our Europeans and our Worlds there, I think.
Yeah, in 2017, the Worlds were there. Yeah.
Really cool city and cool sailing venue.
How about you, Alex? There's just so many to choose from.
Yeah, a problem to have. To be honest, I'm actually really enjoying going to Enoshima. I think it's some pretty cool conditions, and you're kind of straight into the race course areas. And it's a challenging place to sail, but it's pretty cool with the waves or the flat water, and as Molly said, flat and shifty offshore. I think Enoshima's, I'm excited for the next few trips there.
That'll be good. We've just had another question come through from Mark Orams. Okay, so this is a bit more of a technical one.
Okay.
Are you ready? I see Pete and Blair, when they want the right side of the beat, they're prepared to start on port and take sterns to get there. It's a gutsy move. Do you use this approach in the FX? If so, how do you pull it off without fouling others?
Yeah, so you do see a lot of the 49er fleet and more of the FX fleet starting on port. And it is a pretty cool way to start if you do want to send it to the right. I think it is actually quite a hard technique to nail your time on distance. And when we've done it in the past, we quite often like to lead back on port, because then you kind of you're controlling it. You're not getting held up by someone to leeward of you. And it's probably the hardest bit is calling whether you're crossing boats coming on starboard, because everyone kind of accelerates differently, or if you're going to dip kind of the whole entire fleet. But if you are looking to go right, you do save a maneuver, you save a tack, and you can be leading to the right pretty easily. I don't know, Molly, is there any tricks?
I don't know, we always talk about maybe being patient. Like you can't necessarily accelerate on the gun. You have to almost wait at times for other people or the starboard boats to accelerate before you go. But we find that it has to be enough wind to do it. Like you can't do it in under 10 knots just because the maneuver, like the tack, you can get tacked on pretty easily in that condition. Whereas if you're going a bit faster, you can kind of shoot through if people try to tack on you. So yeah, I know we probably need to practice it a little bit more ourselves, but yeah, it's good when you execute it.
Yeah, we do it in training races more than real races still.
Oh, that's good. We've got just another question here as well. This one's from Adrian France. With 1 minute to go before the start, what is the communication topics between you two?
I think if our comms are ideal, Molly will be calling like distance to the line, and she also does a countdown. So she'll say 20 seconds, and then in the last 10 seconds, she'll be kind of counting down more regularly. I'm trying to communicate about boats around us, and so is Molly actually. We like to communicate quite a lot, and then I'm trying to call it like a time call, so like accelerating at 8 seconds or whatnot, and then one of us will kind of just be like go kind of, if that call obviously seems wrong or if boats around us are going.
And what's the discussion like at the end of a race when you sail back to your coach?
Like on the way back to the coach boat, like after.
Yeah. So you've just done your races and you're heading back towards the coach boat. You get to Nathan. What's the sort of what sort of things do you guys discuss? Do you discuss the start of the race, the middle of the race, the end of the race, the great tack that you did, or the bad tack that you did, or what does he focus on? Without giving too much away, of course.
Yeah. So in our racing, like the turnaround time between when you finish the race and when you start the next one is really short, and it's getting shorter and shorter all the time. So it's quite like a time pressure situation. So we've brought it down to like kind of 3 key things you talk about, and it's like a summary of what worked in the race, kind of like what the plan would be for the coming race. Have I missed one? Oh, and like kind of how we felt the boat was, so we try and keep it real simple. And then if there's time, we go into how good the tack was, or how good the start was, or how bad something was. But we try not to bring those until the debrief at the end of the day. Otherwise, you can end up talking for a while.
I've actually got a young sailor from up in the Bay of Islands, Ted Owley. He's asked, if you have a disagreement, how do you deal with it? That one.
No, I think
it's a good thing to ask though, because we don't all get on 100% of the time, and there's always going to be something that causes a little bit of frustration. I mean, so you guys, you do have a professional relationship on the water and with your sailing. So how do you deal with disagreements if they do come about?
I think, as Molly said, like the time between races is pretty minimal. So we try to not get like too stuck on the small things. And we try to think more globally, because there's time pressure to get into the right setting for the next race. And we really want to be thinking like what's going to win the next race. And that's easier said than done sometimes. I personally can get quite like caught up in a moment. And even if it's not between us, or it's like boat on boat situation, I'm like kind of want to debrief it there and then. But it's important for us to kind of just focus on the big things. And then once we get to shore and we do rig and we've got changed and water and food in us, then we kind of sit down and do a pretty thorough debrief. And we kind of go through some main categories. And I think that's probably the opportunity we take to like kind of go through the more specific situations. And we're probably trying to become a bit more, I think we both don't, we are really good friends and we don't really like conflict. So it's learning how to be honest, but in a constructive way. So I think we're still learning how to do it perfectly, but I think we try to realize if it's going to make the boat go faster or make us make better decisions in the future, we try to bring it up so we can learn from it. But we don't always do it perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, it's always bigger picture stuff. You've got to think of that bigger picture, and maybe dealing with something that happened, 20 minutes earlier might not actually be helping going into the next race.
Yeah. And I think actually that is a strength of ours. Like I've done a bit of either match racing or big boat sailing, and you can see like the communication breakdown, and you like it would be good just to be able to move on from the situation and don't kind of get stuck there. Like I think that is a strength of what we learn working with each other and a sports psychologist as well, like what is effective communication.
Obviously, getting that silver medal at the Olympics would have had to have been a pretty pinnacle moment in your careers. And I'm like, that's obviously the highest one, but what has been for you guys the best moment that you've ever had on the water?
For some reason, what like springs immediately to mind is actually one of the medal races at a recent, I reckon it was the Japan World Cup event. And like we'd sailed pretty well in Japan, but we had kind of had a run of like not really executing our plan in medal races. And I just remember it was like quite a close medal race. And I'm pretty sure the Dutch girls already had got the gold medal. And we were there was a lot of us who could have come second. And we just sailed a pretty solid race and kind of under a bit of pressure because it was pretty close at different points of the race. And we made good decisions. And I felt like that was quite nice.
Nice.
In terms of more recent feelings of like kind of nailing a race.
What when you Molly, this one's for you, when you stood on that podium and accepted that silver medal, what was the kind of emotions that you actually had right then at that moment? Like it was done, the medal is around your neck. What is that feeling like?
I think in Rio it was pretty overwhelming. I think with obviously the Brazilians winning the gold at their home Olympics, like I think that crowd was, like it was one of those things that was pretty amazing. And pretty hard to describe. Obviously super, super happy. And it was cool to see like the other Kiwis medaling as well. And yeah.
Definitely. Well, we had I remember it perfectly. We were there was a massive crowd watching at the Royal Akarana Yacht Club back when it was the old building, and there was like those celebration poppers. There was champagne flying around, there was cheering, people were jumping up on couches and like just like screaming your names out so loudly. I mean, that happened around New Zealand at all yacht clubs. I mean, that's not your only club that you're involved in. You also got Murray's Bay and you got Tauranga, and I mean, all of those clubs we know were just cheering so hard for you guys. It must be a kind of surreal feeling knowing that the entire country is behind you in that moment.
Yeah, I think the New Zealand sailing community is pretty special, and even if it's the America's Cup or the Volvo Ocean Race, like we really enjoy seeing other Kiwis succeed. So like I remember watching the London Olympics and seeing Joe and Polly win that gold and Peter Blair come silver, and that was pretty inspiring. So we were obviously kind of in the thick of it in Rio and part of the Olympic team, which was really special. But it is one of the pinnacles of our sailing career, and it was a really special moment. I think we went through a whole range of emotions that day, from nervous before the race to pretty calm once you get into routines, and then I think immediately crossing the finish line there was a bit of disappointment that soon turned into happiness, and then there was just a lot of emotion. So it was a pretty cool day. But
very cool day.
Yeah.
Hey, young Ted has just asked another question. Do you have any quick code words for any particular situation? Like any secret language on board?
The only word that sticks out is composure, which is around quite a lot sometimes in the boat. But that kind of is something that's always happened within the campaign. If one of us says composure, it's kind of like, okay, take a breath, keep going.
I think Nathan introduced that word to us, and when he first started coaching us in 2013, he was like, in skiff racing, it's really important to be composed because of the boat handling and so many aspects of skiff sailing. You kind of just need to keep going and kind of maintain that sense of calm. So I think ever since then we were like, if we're in a hairy situation or a marginal jibe, one of us will be like, composure, and we kind of reset and get on with it. It's good.
Good stuff. Well, there's been some really great questions come through, but you guys have got a lot of supporters out there, a lot of fans, young sailors, right through to the next level of, highly ranked sailors as well. Is there, I don't know, I know what I'm trying to ask, but I don't really know the way I need to ask it. How do you guys, when you've got all these fans just running up to you and being so excited to see you, how do you guys deal with that? How does that make you feel?
I think at the Auckland Worlds, there was a lot of people in the community and everyone means so well, and it was really cool to feel that level of support from the community. But then I think, I don't know, it just feels like we're all sailors, to me at least, and it's just cool to be part of the sailing community. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, I know that I've seen when you guys have been down at Akarana, because obviously that's where I spend a lot of time as well. And, you hear the kids going, oh my gosh, it's Alex and Molly. It's Alex and Molly. The next generation, and, your young fans. I mean, I always get a little bit of a, oh, that's so sweet. It's so nice. And it's so great that, these young sailors can be around their role models at the same club. And that's, I think, another really great thing about New Zealand is that there's all all the top sailors, go around to all the different clubs, and you guys you're very much exposed to that next generation of sailors. I think that's a really good part of, that community that we've got here in New Zealand.
Yeah, we're really lucky, and we were really fortunate growing up as well to have kind of those role models and people help us out. So I think to have all the kids at Akarana, Murray's Bay or Tauranga or wherever, I think you do realize that the Olympic sailors and older sailors in the community are really approachable, and if you ever have any questions or anything like that, feel free to come and kind of approach us and ask us, because we definitely benefited from that as well growing up.
So speaking of that, when you guys were young sailors, who were your sailing heroes? We'll start with you, Molly.
Well, I've always looked up to my brother Sam, who's 2 years older, so he was kind of involved in the Olympic sailing before I was, and then Joe and Polly were obviously really, really cool role models to look up to. Like Alex said, winning the gold in London, been pretty cool role models throughout the Rio cycle as well. So yeah, definitely some
Really nice.
up to.
And how about you, Alex?
Yeah, I think one of like New Zealand's kind of legacy in the sport was Barbara Kendall, and I remember watching her go through all her campaigns and thinking she had a really cool attitude to it all, and she was always quite positive, and she actually was there handing kind of our medals to us in Rio, and she's always just got a really cool attitude, and I think yeah, seeing her achieve as much as she did was pretty inspiring. And then just in Kerry, we were so lucky to have so many cool sailors kind of able to mentor the young ones growing up. Even Andrew Murdoch was quite a legend in Kerry and helped me and my brothers, and I know Blair as well, kind of as we were younger. And so yeah, there was quite a few role models, which we're really lucky.
There's so many role models here in New Zealand with sailing. Just one more quick question before we wrap it up. With all of your top competitors so close, where are you looking for that edge? And what areas of your sailing do you think you can find the most improvements? Who wants to take that one?
I think Molly will jump in if I'm wrong, or if she has a different one, but I think for us, just trying to nail our starts in this last year and a half, that would give us many more opportunities on the race course to kind of execute what we want to do. Because yeah, I think it's been a little bit of a weakness, and I think if we were able to really nail it in this, yeah, it would be a game changer. And I think we definitely have the skill set too, so that's something we'll be really looking to do. And then just probably consistency with our performance as well.
Do you agree with that one, Molly?
Yeah, good summary.
Start practice. Fantastic. Hey, guys, we'll wrap it up there, but I just want to say a massive thank you for taking time out to chat with us tonight. It's been a really great insight into where you guys are and where you're heading and how you're dealing with everything at the moment. And it's been really great.
Cool. Thank you
for having us.
No worries at all. So up next tomorrow morning at 10:30 Kiwi time, we've got photographer, photographer Andrea Francolini. And then on Saturday at 10 o'clock, we've got the guys from Knots Racing. And then we've just announced, we just put it up before we went live here, on Wednesday, the 22nd at 8 p.m. We've got Leonard Takahashi and Nathan Outeridge from Sail GP. So that'll be an interesting one. So there's definitely a really cool lineup of these live interviews to come. So hey, a massive thank you to everybody from around the world who has tuned in and who has asked questions. Alex Maloney, Molly Meech, two outstanding sailors and role models in the New Zealand and international sailing community. So guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ellen.
All right, we'll see you on the water soon.
Yeah.
Please. Cool. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Good night.